Again, older viewers will remember a time perhaps when some racially prejudiced white people held strong views about the idea of blood transfusions. They claimed that black blood and white blood were different, and that transracial blood transfusions were a terrible idea. This became known as a typical example of the unreasoning and unscientific nature of racism, because we were assured by doctors that there was no difference at all between black people's blood and that of white people. It was all stored together, and transfusions were given by groups rather than by ethnicity. This was said so often and so convincingly that there are still many people who vaguely believe the fairy tale. What they were not told, of course, is that black blood was always stored separately from that of white people, as indeed it is today in both Britain and the United States. The idea that there is no difference between the blood from white people and that from black people was an early version of the popular modern doctrine that race is merely a social construct with no scientific foundations or justification. This foolish idea now holds sway in this country. When black people need a blood transfusion, whether following a road accident or because they have sickle cell anemia, then blood from other black people is best for them. In the description to this video, I give a link to the National Health Service Blood Transfusion Department, where they are making an appeal for more black people to donate blood for this very reason. Because the outlook is far better for black people if they receive black blood than if they receive blood from white people. Here's something else that most people don't realise, that black people and white have different fingerprints. It is, in fact, uh, possible to look at fingerprints found at the scene of a crime and know if they belong to a black person or a white one. This is something which has been kept very quiet lest it damage the notion of race as a social construct. Anthropologists long knew that the basic patterns of fingerprints, the arches, whorls and loops, vary statistically by race. But 10 years ago it was found that the minute variations in the patterns were also different. It is possible with a very high degree of certainty to say if fingerprints are from a black person or a white one. It would be possible to go on endlessly in this way, listing various genetic differences, physical ones and probably mental ones too, between different races and ethnicities, which leads us to ask how the idea that race is a social construct arose in the first place. I've published a piece on this very subject in my Substack account, The Origin of Race as a Social Construct. Do not be discouraged or alarmed by the title, which is The Dialectics of Racism. I use the expression dialectics here not in the Marxist sense of dialectical materialism, but rather as in a method of establishing truth and generating new ideas. I give a link to this essay in the description to this video. It's free to read. I give a couple of other links as well on the topics upon which I have touched in this video.